Thank you, Your Honor. This time the state would ask permission to publish the following exhibits which have been admitted into evidence. Exhibit 62 and exhibits 22, 23, 24, and 25. I'm sorry,
Is it
122? Exhibit 62 and 122, 123, 124, and 125.
Permission is granted.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I give it to you. 122, 23, 24. Right there. Lab 62. Okay, Your Honor, the sergeant will step down and use a pointer.
You may step down. You may use it, sir.
Okay, Sergeant, I'm going to draw your attention to the large monitor in front of you, and starting with State's Exhibit 62, which is evidence. I'm sorry, not 62, 125 or 122. Pardon me. Okay, looking at State's Exhibit 122, what are we looking at here?
This is a photograph of an overall view leading up to New Lagoa Bay from Hana Highway, sir.
And from this photograph, can you tell where the entrance is to the road that takes you down to New Lagoa Bay?
Yes, sir.
Can you point that out, please, for us?
In the middle of this photograph, at the end of the guardrail, the entrance is right here.
Okay. Now showing you what is in evidence of State's Exhibit 123. Do you recognize that?
Yes, sir.
And what are we looking at here?
This is again from Hana Highway looking at an overall view of the roadway leading into New Lagoa Bay, sir.
And looking at State's Exhibit 124, what do we see here?
This is another close-up shot of the roadway entrance to New Lagoa Bay, sir.
And State's Exhibit 62.
This is a overall view of the roadway of New Lagoa Bay, sir.
Okay, when you say the roadway, earlier you mentioned a roadway that was paved. Is this a different road?
Yes, sir. This is a dirt road.
Okay. And turning your attention to State's Exhibit 125, what are we looking at here?
This is a overall view of the area of New Lagoa Bay looking from the dirt road down into the vegetation.
Okay, so this isn't the bay itself, this is a dirt road going into the vegetation.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, have you gone all the way down to the bay, followed the pathway that was just shown to you in State's Exhibit 62, all the way down to the bay itself?
Yes, sir.
And
I'll object as to leading.
Judge, just found it.
Preliminary, the objection is overruled.
Okay. Did you answer that?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And how were you able to get down there?
You can either drive, well, I drove and I walked the roadway, sir.
And were you able to estimate the distance that you drove and walked from the roadway down to New Lagoa Bay, the bay itself?
Are we talking the entrance?
The entrance from the Hana roadway down to New Lagoa Bay, meaning the bay itself.
I would estimate.
Object, lack of foundation.
The objection is sustained. Please lay a foundation.
Are you able to estimate distances you travel?
Yes, sir.
And how are you able to do that?
Observations, experience,
Are you familiar? Oh, pardon me?
visual.
And are you familiar in traveling a certain distance between a half mile, a mile, More than a mile?
Yes, sir.
And how are you able to estimate that?
Depend if I'm in a vehicle or if I'm walking, you know, a visual clue.
And what visual clues are you looking for, or are you relying on?
Just from based on experience, what I've known to be estimated distances.
Now, were you ever in the doing patrol? Were you ever in the traffic division?
Yes, sir.
And in the traffic division, are you trained to estimate distances?
Yes, sir.
And what kind of training does that entail?
That would have been when we're getting certified for laser qualifications for speeding.
And what type of training? I mean, how is it that you would be able to estimate distances in that type of training?
During that training, you have a vehicle coming towards you. You have to estimate their speed, their distance, and then after you estimate that, there's an instructor who would actually shoot the laser and stuff, and you would see approximately if you're in that ballpark figure.
And we're able to, I guess, pass and qualify in the estimation of those distances.
Yes, sir.
Now, with respect to walking a certain distance, are you able to provide estimations as to distances that you would
I'm going to object 403 waste of time. The maps, there's going to be maps.
But Judge, he shouldn't be objecting in the first place then.
I'm going to overrule the objection. There was an objection to foundation, and at this time, the examiner is placing the foundation on the record. So the objection in terms of timing is overruled.
Thank you. So are you able to estimate distances between 2 points through walking or driving?
Yes, sir.
And how are you able to do that?
Well, from experience as a golfer, when I walk the course, I have to estimate the distance between my ball and the green, you know, so I pretty much estimate how far the distance is.
Okay, and I'm not going to ask your handicap or if you're able to hit the ball in the green, but have you been accurate in estimating those distances? And again, not necessarily hitting the ball at those distances, but estimating those distances.
Yes, sir.
Objection.
And how do you check that accuracy? You know, this is still foundation.
Okay.
In terms of the objection, actually, we didn't get your grounds, but...
No, I stopped. I withdrew the objection.
Okay, the objection is withdrawn.
Do you remember the question I just asked you?
No, sir.
Let me ask it to you again if I can remember it. Were you able to, or how were you able to determine the accuracy of your estimation of the distances on the golf course?
With my handheld laser rangefinder?
So you use that?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Is that like kind of cheating a little bit? I'm just kidding. And did it prove to be accurate from what your estimation was with the rangefinder?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, are you able to give us an estimation of the distance from the roadway that was depicted in State's, the entrance that was depicted in State's Exhibit, I believe, 123, the beginning of the path leading down to Nu'a Bay, to the bay itself?
Yes, sir.
And what is that estimation?
And my estimation is approximately half a mile.
Okay, Sergeant, you can have a seat. Before lunch we did.
Oh, you did?
Before lunch. You testified before lunch, Sergeant Blue, that you did receive information that certain items were recovered from the area of Nu'uailua Bay. Do you recall testifying to that effect?
Not recovered, but located.
I mean,
yes, sir.
I'm sorry, I misspoke. Certain items were located within that area.
Yes, sir.
And who did you speak with when you received that information?
Lieutenant Danny Dodds.
Now, again, we're still on Thursday, February 13th of 2014. Is that when you would have received that information from Lieutenant Danny Dodds?
No, sir, that
I'm
was
sorry.
February 14th.
I'm sorry,
2014.
yes, I'm getting confused there. We are on February 14th, Friday
Yes, sir.
of the year 2014.
Yes, sir.
Now, when you received that information, what did you do?
At that time, I responded to the scene with my evidence tech, Tony Earls,
And the scene meaning,
Nu'uailua Bay.
and when you got to the scene or to Nu'uailua Bay, did you travel down the entrance to Nu'uailua Bay that was depicted in State's Exhibit 123?
Yes, sir.
And when you traveled down there, did you run into anyone else?
I met with members of the SRT, the crew, and a couple of our detectives.
And you know, one more, I want to show you. I'm going to turn your attention to something you already testified to that's in evidence. This is State's Exhibit 125. You want to publish it?
You may.
Okay. Looking at State's Exhibit 125, how is this area familiar with you?
There's a abandoned appliance over there.
And when you went to meet with the SRT, members of the SRT team, is this the area that you ended up going to, if you recall?
Objection leading.
You know, I can rephrase that.
The question is withdrawn. You may rephrase.
Yeah, when you met up with Lieutenant Danny Dawes, which area did you folks go to?
Down the dirt road, it would be the Wailuku side of the dirt road in Nu'uailua Bay.
Okay, and does that have any reference to State's Exhibit 125, if any?
Yes, sir.
And what is it?
We used that abandoned appliance as a reference point
A reference point to what?
to where we entered and exited from the vegetation.
Now, is the entrance point connected to the dirt path that we saw in the previous pictures? To where the appliance is?
I'll go ahead and object as to leading.
Yeah, this is just clarifying.
The objection is okay. Is preliminary in nature. You may answer the question.
From the dirt roadway, you would walk a couple feet and then go down a hillside into the vegetation.
And what is depicted in 120, in State's Exhibit 125 with reference to the dirt roadway that you just mentioned?
The abandoned appliance.
Now, when you arrived at the area where the abandoned appliance, which is depicted in State's Exhibit 125, were you taken to anywhere in particular?
Down onto the floor of the valley off the dirt road, yes, sir.
And to your knowledge, and I guess you testified to this earlier, but to your knowledge, had anything been recovered at that point?
Nothing had been recovered at that point, sir.
Were you shown any items of interest at that point?
Yes, sir.
Again, this is Friday, February 14th. Can you tell us what items of interest were you shown at that point? Which items of interest were you shown when you went down into that area?
You want me to describe what we saw?
That's correct.
Okay. First of all, when we got there, I was shown what appeared to be a clump of hair. The next thing I was shown appeared to be a part of a jawbone. And then after that, I was shown what appeared to be a bra.
Were you shown anything else? Let me ask you this. When you said you're shown, one of the items you were shown was part of a jawbone, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Were you only shown one part of jawbone, if you recall?
There was.
The subject is leading.
The objection is sustained. Excuse me. I'm
Sorry.
Okay, I have to ask you a question before you can answer. Okay. You mentioned you were only shown one part of a jawbone. Were you shown anything else?
I was shown, there's two jawbones in two different locations. I was shown.
When you say two jawbones, can you elaborate on that?
It appears to be the lower part of the jawbone with teeth.
Objection, lack of foundation.
The objection is sustained.
Move to strike.
The motion to strike is granted.
Okay. Sergeant Liu, you just said you saw two jawbones. Did you see two separate whole jawbones? Is that what you're telling us?
Two separate jawbones, two pieces.
I'm asking you.
Yes, sir.
Two pieces of what?
A jawbone.
Okay, I'm going to show you some photographs at this point, and referring counsel to State's Exhibits. State's Exhibit 127 to 137. I'm going to have counsel review this, Your Honor, for the record. And also for the record, the defense has been provided photocopies of the same. Your Honor, may I approach, please? Okay, Detective, I'm going to show in sequence what has been marked for identification of State Exhibit 127. Again, in sequence all the way to State Exhibit 137. Please take a look at those, and I'll have further questions when you're done. Okay, Sergeant Lou, were you able to review State's Exhibits 127 to 137, which have been marked for identification?
Yes, sir.
And do you recognize those exhibits?
Yes, sir.
And what are the photographs of? Just generally.
The evidence that was located and eventually recovered.
Now, were you present when those photographs were taken?
Yes, sir.
In fact, were those photographs taken at your instruction?
Objection leading.
The objections are preliminary.
Yes, sir.
And who were those photographs taken by?
Evidence technician Tony Earl, sir.
Do they accurately depict the items that were shown to you, the locations as you saw them back on February 14th, 2014?
Yes, sir.
Have they been changed or altered in any way?
No, sir.
Here at this point, at this time, the state would move into evidence State's Exhibits 127, 128, 129, 130, 131, 132, 133, 134, 135, 136, and 137.
Mr. Uncle.
As photos depicting the locations as observed by Detective Liu, the defense would have no objection.
State's Exhibits 127, 128, 129, 130, 131, 132, 133, 134, 135, 136, and 137 marked for identification purposes are received in evidence. And if you want permission to publish, permission is granted.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Could you see where?
Sergeant, let's begin with photograph or State's Exhibit 128. Okay, now, Sergeant Lou, can you may Sergeant step down and use a
You
pointer?
may step down. If you wish to use the pointer, you may do so.
Sergeant, using the pointer, can you tell us what we're looking at here?
Depicted in this photo, in the middle of this photograph, right here, is a clump of hair.
Now, there's a yellow marker with the letter number 1 on that. Do you see that there?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Do you know how they got there?
Yes, sir.
How did they get there?
My evidence tech placed it there, sir.
Is that Mr. Earls?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And is there a reason that you know of for placing that number there?
I was there when you placed that number, sir.
Yeah, my question was, is there a reason for placing that number there?
So we can keep track of the evidence that we're going to recover.
Okay. As far as you know, was the red hair that you indicated to with the pointer, was that recovered?
Yes, sir.
Now turning your attention to State's Exhibit 129. Can you tell us what we're looking at here?
In this photo is an overall view of the evidence that we located in the vegetation at Nuevo Bay, sir.
And in looking at the photograph, can you do you see the numbers in yellow marking or in black lettering with I guess yellow backgrounds? The numbers 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in sequence there.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Who placed those there?
Tony Earls, the evidence technician.
Was it for the same reason that number 1 was placed where it was?
Yes, sir.
And looking at this photograph, is there anything about this photograph that you can tell us about?
I'm sorry?
Is there anything about this photograph that stands out to you?
Just the vegetation and where the evidence is.
Okay. Turning your attention now to State's Exhibit 130. Can you tell us what we're looking at here, Sergeant?
Excuse me. In the middle of this photograph, sir, this is one of the pieces of jawbones that we recovered from the scene.
And next to what you indicated as a piece of a jawbone, you see a ruler there, or some kind of a ruler?
Yes, sir.
Okay, who placed that there?
Evidence tech Tony Earl, sir.
And what was the purpose for that?
It's for scale.
At this point, is there anything about this photograph depicting the jawbone that you can tell us?
Just basically, it's just a fragment of a jawbone in that area.
Now turning your attention to State's Exhibit 131. What are you looking at here, Sergeant?
Again, in the same area of where we located the jawbone, in the middle of this photograph, this is hair that we recovered, or we located and eventually recovered from the scene.
Okay, I'm sorry, I was looking down. Can you indicate where that hair is recovered so I can make a record of that?
In the middle of this photograph, sir.
Okay, and Your Honor, may the record reflect that Sergeant Liu has indicated to the middle portion of the photograph. Now turning your attention to State's Exhibit 132. Detective, tell us what we're looking at over here, please.
In the middle of this photograph, there was some more hair strands or hair that we recovered.
And Detective, what, if anything, did you notice about the hair?
Basically, when the hair was in clumps.
Did you note anything about the color of the hair?
It was a reddish color hair.
Did that mean anything to you?
It was the approximately same color as the victim's hair, Charlie.
Now turning your attention to State's Exhibit 133. Okay, what do we look at here by what is shown? There's a number 5 in this photograph.
This would be, here would be, I believe it's more hair, sir.
And turning your attention to State's Exhibit 134, where the number 6 is depicted in that photograph. What are we looking at here, Sergeant Wu?
In the middle of this photograph, next to the number 6, sir, is the bra that we recovered.
Now, Sergeant, when you said the bra was recovered, were you able to view that bra after it had been recovered?
Yes, sir.
Turning your attention to State's Exhibit 135. What are we looking at there? Again, it's the number 6 is being depicted in that photograph.
In this photograph, this is a close-up of the bra that was recovered from the New Lewis scene.
And was the condition that we're looking at in this photograph, is that the condition you saw it back then on Friday, February 14th, 2014?
Yes, sir.
Turning your attention to State's Exhibit 136, which is in evidence. Again, the number 7 is depicted in this photograph. Can you tell us what we're seeing here?
In this photograph, this is an overall view of a jawbone that we located and recovered from the scene, sir.
And turning your attention to State's Exhibit 7, I'm sorry, State's Exhibit 137, which is in evidence. Can you tell us what we're looking at here?
This is a close-up view of the jawbone that was located and recovered.
Now, Sergeant, you can have a seat. This one we haven't done yet. Now, to the best of your knowledge, Sergeant Liu, was anything else located in this area that we were just looking at on Friday, February 14th, 2014?
No, sir, not on February 14th.
And when these items are recovered, do you know what happens, where it goes to?
Yes, sir.
And where's that?
Objectives to relevance. If he's talking about this evidence, I have no objection. If he's talking about
I'm sorry,
in general,
we're talking about this evidence here. I can clarify that.
The question is withdrawn. Proceed.
Now, the evidence that, or the items that you just identified on these photographs in State's Exhibits 128 through 137, those items, when you say they were recovered, do you know where they were recovered to?
Yes, sir.
Where's that?
The My Police Department's forensic facility.
And where's that located?
On Willie Pa'a Loop in Wanduku, sir.
Now, after you had gone to the Nua Ailua scene, or the area that we're just looking at, did you return there another day?
Yes, sir.
And when was that?
That would be February 15th, 2014.
And so that'd be Saturday the next day?
Yes, sir.
Now, Sergeant, why did you return there the next day?
On the 14th, we ran out of daylight. It was getting dark, so we suspended the search at that time when it got dark, and with the plans to return the next day.
My question is are there any lights, utility lights, within that Nua Ailua path, that dirt road area?
No, sir.
Did you return the next day then?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Do you recall whether it was in the morning, afternoon?
It was in the morning, sir.
And do you know who else returned as far as MPD personnel goes?
That would be members of the SRT and the crew unit and some detectives.
Is this essentially the same personnel that was there the day before?
Yes, sir.
Now, are you familiar with a Detective Nelson Hamilton?
Yes, sir.
And how are you familiar with him?
He's a coworker of mine.
At that time, was he assigned to the Criminal Investigation Division?
Yes, sir.
And which portion of that division? Was he with the property or persons? If you know.
I don't recall.
Okay. But are you sure he was in the Criminal Investigation Division?
Yes, sir.
Now, on Saturday, February 15th, do you know if Detective Nelson Hamilton was there at the scene at Nua Ailua area?
February 15th, yes, sir.
Now, to your knowledge, was anything else located that morning, Saturday, February 15th, 2014?
Yes, sir.
And were those items brought to your attention?
Yes, sir.
And which items were brought to your attention, Sergeant? That you recall? This is Saturday, February
Yes.
15th, 2014.
Skin fragment, pieces of skin, what appeared to be fingernails, a body piercing, and a pool of maggots.
Those items were brought to your attention.
Yes, sir.
And when you went, while you're at the scene, were you able to observe those items in the location where they were at?
Yes, sir.
And Your Honor, just for the record, I'm showing counsel what has been marked for identification as State's Exhibits 138 to 145 in this in sequence.
Exhibits that are in evidence, I prefer that they be kept in evidence.
That's fine, Judge. I'll tender these to the law clerk.
Thank you.
This is not published yet.
This is
Yeah, okay. It's ready.
okay, Sergeant, I'm going to have you look at State's Exhibits 138 to 145, these are marked for identification. Please take a look at these, and I'll have further questions after you're done.
Sorry. Is it your desk? Yeah. Right.
And what do these photographs and State's Exhibits 138 to 145 depict?
The evidence that was located and new as well.
This is back on Saturday, February 15th, 2014.
Yes, sir.
Do they accurately depict the items as well as the locations that you saw them in when you went there on Saturday, February 15th, 2014?
Yes, sir.
Have they been changed or altered in any way?
No, sir.
You know, this time the state would move into evidence State's Exhibit 138, 139, 140, 141, 142, 143, 144, and 145.
Mr. Roadway.
If they're being offered as photos depicting what how Detective Liu saw these or observed these items, no objection.
State's Exhibits 138, 139, 140, 141, 142, 143, 144, and 145 marked for identification purposes are received in evidence. You may publish if you so desire.
Thank you, Your Honor. Now, Your Honor, may Sergeant Liu step down again so you can
Yes, you may
refer
sit
to
down.
these.
You may use the pointer.
Thanks, sir.
Okay, Sergeant, beginning with State's Exhibit 138, which is in evidence. Can you tell us what we're looking at over here?
In the middle of this photograph, we located a body piercing.
And to the best of your knowledge, was that body piercing recovered?
Yes, sir.
Did you take note of anything in particular with respect to that body piercing when it was recovered?
There was still some flesh attached to it.
Okay, looking at State's Exhibit 139. Now, Detective, can you tell us what we're looking at over here?
This, sir, in the middle of this photograph, this is a bone fragment.
Are you sure about that, Sergeant?
Objection, leading?
Yeah, I'm asking if he's sure about that.
The objection is overruled.
Fingernail, sorry.
I'm showing you, moving to the next exhibit, State's Exhibit 140. What are we looking at here, Sergeant Liu?
In the middle of this photograph, this is a fingernail, I believe, sir.
Yes, sir?
Or a bone fragment.
Sergeant Liu, I want you looking at State's Exhibit 140 and State's Exhibit 130. First of all, going back to State's Exhibit 139. Now let's go into State's Exhibit 140. Can you tell from looking at those two photographs, 139 and 140, whether or not that is the same item?
I'm going to object as to leading. It's been asked and answered.
Yeah.
Sustained as to lead.
What can you tell me about if anything, about State's Exhibit 139 and State's Exhibit 140?
It's the same item, just the 140, Exhibit 149 is enlarged.
Exhibit 140? You called it enlarged. Okay, moving. Turning your attention to State's Exhibit 141. what are we looking at in State's Exhibit 141, Sergeant?
In the middle of this picture, this is skin that was recovered.
So I'll object lack of foundation as to what it is.
The objection is sustained.
Move to strike the answer.
The motion to strike is granted.
Can you just indicate what was recovered in State's Exhibit 141?
This piece of evidence right here in the middle of the photograph.
Thank you.
So may the record reflect that the officer is pointing at a stick-like object that is intersecting with another stick-like object.
Yeah, that is a false record. Sergeant was pointing to something that's white in color that's in the middle of the photograph.
We can ask the jury what he was pointing at, but
Let's
the
just
record
have
must be
the
accurate.
office, let's have Sergeant indicate for the benefit of all what he is pointing at.
Sergeant, can you tell us what you're pointing at and describe what color it is?
This object in the middle of this photograph that's whitish in color.
I'm turning your attention to State's Exhibit 142. And what are we looking at here, Sergeant?
In this photograph, in the middle of this photograph, right, is a fingernail.
Are you sure about that, Sergeant?
Objection asked and answered. Leading.
One is not asking
The
this.
objection is overruled.
Okay, please answer the question. Are you sure about that, Officer?
No, sir.
Sergeant?
This, to my best recollection, sir, this is a bone fragment.
That's what appeared to you.
That's what it appears to me, sir.
Moving on to State's Exhibit 143. And what are we looking at here in State's Exhibit 143?
In this photograph, we're looking at the overall area of where where we collected evidence.
Okay, now earlier you pointed to what looked like to you as fingernails and bone fragments and the other items you suggested. Do you know if these letters correspond to those items?
Yes, sir.
Or at least some of the items that you've indicated?
Yes, sir.
Now, in this photograph that's depicted in State's Exhibit 143, other than the letter, the yellow markers with the black lettering in it, is there anything else in this photograph that stands out to you?
Yes, sir.
And what is that?
To the middle portion of the left of this photograph, there is a pool of maggots.
Okay, and can you point to that? The record should reflect that Sergeant, just hold it there, Sergeant, and not move it. That Sergeant Liu is indicating to an area that's to the left of the photograph, which is next to what appears to be a thin tree trunk. Okay. Did you also observe in this photo that when you were at the scene, Sergeant Liu, did you observe a tree trunk with any marks on it?
Yes, sir.
And is it depicted in State's Exhibit 143?
Yes, sir.
Can you show the ladies and gentlemen jury where that is?
That would be this tree trunk right here.
And what, if anything, did you notice about that?
That almost at the base of this tree was what appeared to be a fresh cut mark in the tree.
Object lack of foundation.
The objection is overruled.
And what, if anything, did you notice within that fresh, what you described as a fresh cut mark within that tree?
Objection leading.
What, if anything, did you notice?
The question is withdrawn, and you may answer the question, what, if anything, did you notice?
Strands of reddish hair.
The detective showing you what has marked, been marked as State's Exhibit 145. I'm sorry, 144. Did I do that yet? And what are we looking at here, Sergeant?
This is another overall view of where we located the evidence, but from a different angle.
Let me ask you this, is the pool of maggots that you described earlier in State's Exhibit 143 depicted in State's Exhibit 144?
Yes, sir.
And can you point that out with the pointer where that is?
That would be in the middle and the lower bottom of this photograph, sir.
And Your Honor, may the record reflect that Sergeant Lewis indicating to the lower middle portion of the photograph. Now, with respect to the maggots, did you instruct the collection of those maggots or the recovery?
Leading?
The objection is overall preliminary.
Yes, sir, I did.
And who did you instruct to recover that?
My evidence tech, Tony Earls.
Now, Sergeant Liu, why did you instruct Tony Earls to recover? Well, did you instruct him to recover all of the maggots or some of the maggots?
Some of the maggots, sir.
Why did you instruct him to do that?
So we can talk to one of those insect people to try to determine a timeline.
Would this be a forensic entomologist?
Yes, sir.
And showing you the last photograph, State's Exhibit 145. What are we looking at here?
In the middle of this picture, sir, this is more skin that we recovered.
Objection, lack of foundation.
The objection is sustained.
Move to strike the answer.
Motion to strike is granted.
Without telling us what you think it is, what did it appear to be? What did it appear to be to you?
This appeared to be skin.
Okay, you may have a seat, Sergeant. Let's take a break now. You know, at this time, there's a matter that the parties do wish to bring before the court, so if we could take a break.